What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to your Chicago White Sox franchise mode here on Level 9. We are today going to make a quick change before we get into any game time as we look at some of our relief pitchers here because we've got something we need to change. Jake Dykman, Alex Colome, and Keenan Middleton were my top three choices for this, but Keenan Middleton, already on the 40-man and in real life has actually been playing for the White Sox, is going to be brought up to the major leagues because Davis Martin, one of our long relievers, is having an awful season with a 7.03 ERA. We're going to have to send him down to AAA, see if he can figure things out. Maybe he'll actually get to play a few starts down there because he'll probably be one of our better starting pitchers there, but he's been awful as a long reliever for us. Middleton will actually hop in at the second setup role for us. Reynaldo Lopez, of course, our primary setup guy. I'm kind of hoping that he barely plays with his 60 overall. He's obviously not really good enough to be in the MLB for us, but Reynaldo Lopez is currently injured, although it's really a short injury of about 1 to 6 days on a pulled leg muscle. He'll be back in no time, and hopefully Middleton doesn't really play a whole lot for us because I don't really think he's going to make much of a difference. One other thing I wanted to look at is the coaches we discussed last episode. Our first and third base coaches, Daryl Boston and Eddie Rodriguez. They are both going to be fired because they just don't bring anything to the team. They're making our defense worse, and our defense is something we've seen several times throughout the last few games, being a very big problem for us. So we're going to bring in Elias Denson, who gets us some extra fielding, reactions, and arm strength at the cost of a tiny bit of speed for 1 year. And we're going to bring in James Petty at the cost of a lot of speed, but we gain a lot of reactions and some arm strength and arm accuracy for 2 years on a $1.3 million deal. And hopefully bringing those two guys in will help our coaching staff improve a little bit. We lose a little bit of speed, but we gain a lot of defense, and I honestly think that'll help more than you think because we're getting a lot of reactions in just those couple little changes. Getting into our game for the day, we will be facing against our division rivals, the Minnesota Twins, who have had a better start to the season than we have, with an 18-13 record, while we have a 12-19 record. As you saw from the batting averages and everything on the lineup screen, we don't have too many guys in a cold streak like we did. Yohan Moncada is still barely hanging around at 200 average, but hopefully we do have a good game today, and we get to see Lance Lynn, who has really struggled to start the season, hopefully improve today. The guys are running out on the field, excited to face against a division rival there. Luis Robert getting ready in his defensive position. As we get ready to see our boys already in games 1 and 2, we have split the difference, us winning the last game 4-3, losing the first one 6-0. So the series is tied at 1-1, and we could come out with a win in this series, which would be huge for us, again, against a division rival who have started the season better than we have. As I mentioned, we're starting with Lance Lynn here, a veteran pitcher in the twilight of his career who has not had a great start to the year. Not a terrible start, I guess. In 6 starts, though, a 4.86 ERA is definitely not good, and that 1-4 record is just not looking great, is it? The strikeouts are doing a lot better than the walks, and only a 1.5 whip isn't terrible, but he's not looked great. He would start the day off great, however, with a sinker there, getting Nick Gordon to go out looking as he thought that was going to drop below the zone, but it stayed in. Michael A. Taylor coming up later, and that curveball is going to get him out high in the zone. He did not think it was going to drop in, and it did. As Carlos Correa comes up, and he will ground out to Elvis Andrus, easy field, easy pass to Vaughn, and that's a good out and a good inning for Lance Lynn. As we come into the bottom of the first, we will see Pablo Lopez, who has not struggled to start this season. In his 6 starts, he has a 1.45 ERA and a 1.06 whip. He looks fantastic right now, coming against Tim Anderson, who has a 3.33 batting average, and he's going to continue that hot streak, starting off with a good single here in the bottom of the first. He's looked really good this year, and Andrew Benintendi has looked a lot better in the past few weeks than he did at the beginning of the season, but what a play by the center fielder. That was an incredible dive by Byron Buxton out there in center field, making the diving catch to stop Benintendi from getting a base hit. What a play, laying out for that one, just maximum effort and playing so well. Byron Buxton is a great fielder, and you see it there. Pablo Lopez getting hyped for his teammate as Luis Robert Jr. would come up, and he gets a great hit here, hitting that one to the outfield, and it looks really good on distance, but not going to quite get out of the park. But it's a solid double, and it looks like Tim Anderson's going to try to go all the way first to home, and he does successfully. So that's a great start to the first inning. Luis Robert Jr. batting in Tim Anderson all the way from first on that double. You can see that Lopez just put that one way too central, and great timing by Robert on his swing as he would get 2 bases off of Lopez, and a great start for our White Sox today. Already 1-0, Moncada would come up. He struggled to start the season, but he seems to have really gotten a hold of this fastball, but I don't think it's quite going to make it out as Buxton will get it at the warning track. A good hit, but it still just doesn't seem to be happening for Moncada right now, and I hope he can improve. We'll start this game off, though, with a 1-0 start to the first inning, and as we go into the second, hoping that Lance Lynn can continue to look good. Lynn would come up against Byron Buxton right here, and Buxton's going to hit it down the line against the shift that we're not even supposed to be able to play, and I wish we weren't in this game because that would have prevented what looks like an easy stand-up double for Byron Buxton, who's so fast. Grabs his 6th double of the season there, and now Lance Lynn faces against Jorge Polanco and gets him to swing on the sinker to the far outside of the zone. Great job for Lance Lynn against somebody with almost a 300 batting average, and now against someone with like a 200 batting average, he would allow it. And what has Benintendi doing? There's that defense we've been questioning all year. That was awful, and it looks like Polanco thought about probably going for 3 there as he barely even tried. Should have been easy to get to that. But Benintendi just misread it, I guess, and oh, what an epic failure in fielding. And our new coaches have not had a great start to the season, that's for sure. With Polanco easily batting in Byron Buxton, we would at least move on to the next hitter, Joey Gallo, who would watch that one at the bottom of the zone, and he seems to think it was a ball. I thought it was clearly in the zone in that very bottom corner, as Nick Gordon would come up, and Benintendi's going to struggle to get there, but trying to make up for his mistake earlier in the inning, he would get there, and that's the second out of the inning. Now coming against Michael A. Taylor once again, and he would go out swinging at the fastball outside of the zone. And there's our friend with the K sign once again coming up here. 2 strikeouts in that inning as Lance Lynn looks really good. Now, starting off the bottom of the third here with Tim Anderson, 1 away already, and on the 3-1 count, he would walk. Great plate vision from Tim Anderson, not swinging at the high fastball, as he does a great job to get the walk off Pablo Lopez there. But nothing else would happen from that inning as we would see Luis Robert Jr. getting out on the far outside sinker in the corner there. He surely didn't know how to feel about it, but it's a great pitch by Pablo Lopez, and he gets the out. Now moving forward to the bottom of the fourth here, Eloy Jimenez would get a really good hit there just past the second baseman, and it looks like it should be good enough for a stand-up double. Great hit for him, 107 miles per hour off the bat, and he is all the way to second. Leading off this inning with a really solid hit there. Good to see from Eloy Jimenez as Yohan Moncada comes up, and he's going to actually get a hit here, it looks like. Can the catcher get there in time? And it looks like Moncada is actually able to get to first base just in time, advancing our man to third as well. Eloy Jimenez already on third, and you can see Pablo Lopez is trying to shake that off as it came back and hit him on what looked like the front of the foot/ankle area. But he would stay in the game, and maybe that was a mistake, as Andrew Vaughn comes up and absolutely crushes that cutter, an 88 mile per hour cutter, and he just absolutely crushed it to give us some points on the board here. 3 runs earned on that one. Andrew Vaughn's 3rd home run of the year goes 380 feet. You can see the guys in the dugout are getting absolutely hyped for him. What a great hit, an absolute no-doubter immediately off the bat. He knew that was a home run. What a great hit, as Pablo Lopez probably should have come out of the game. What a great job by the young man. You can see about 110 miles per hour off the bat, 380 feet, and those fans catch I's ball. They'll be excited to get that as Billy Hamilton comes up to the plate here, and it looks like he is going to pop out for the 3rd out of the inning as Pablo Lopez won't allow any more damage as we go up 4-1 thanks to Andrew Vaughn. And it looks like we've got a couple guys in the bullpen warming up for us as Lance Lynn will be getting closer to getting tired here at the top of the 6th, having pitched 91 pitches already. And maybe we should have swapped him out to start the inning. I figured he could make it a little longer, but it looks like Gallo is going to get that one out as Luis Robert Jr. tries to make the jump at the wall, but it's just a little bit beyond his reach. And Gallo has his 3rd home run of the season at 400 feet in distance, and that was a great hit by him, just reading the pitch really well. And Lynn allowing that homer. Luckily for us, just a solo homer, so we still control the game for now, but what a great hit by Gallo. We know him. He's all pop, all power. If you give him one to hit and he does manage to hit it, it's a very good likelihood that it's out of there. One of those true 3 outcome hitters as Nick Gordon comes up, and he's just a good contact guy, and it looks like he may have gotten himself a double as Benintendi's still just not quite fast enough to catch up with that one either. The left fielder's struggling a bit today, though I would say that's not really his fault. The pitch was just far too hittable, and that would be it. As the manager's going to pull him, Lance Lynn, he is done for the day. He did pretty well through 5 innings, but that 6th inning, he just did not look good at all. And Kendall Graveman, who's at a 7.71 ERA right now in 4 2/3 innings pitched, perhaps he should have been the one sent down to AAA because he looks awful. And he would not start the day off very well with a walk to make it guys on 1st and 2nd, but maybe it was just a strategy. He wants to get somebody to ground out and do a double play or something. As Carlos Correa would strike out on a pitch right down the middle of the zone. Can't really explain that. Byron Buxton comes up, and with a 3-1 count, he absolutely launches this one, and it looks like he's going to get at least 1 run in as we try to get the man out at 3rd, but he makes it, and Buxton is on 1st with a man on 3rd as well, and they get 1 run out of that, making it 4-3, and they would add another one here as Kendall Graveman continues a terrible start to his game, and we allow another run there to Christian Vasquez, getting a solid hit. And Jose Miranda is going to come on a pinch hit as they want to keep this damage going and try to take the lead. Graveman, luckily, once again gets him to strike out on a pitch almost right in the middle. Graveman looked awful there. Moving forward now, Randy Dobnak is going to be coming in for the Minnesota Twins. He's pitched in 4 games this season with a 3.48 ERA. He looks really good against lefties and not so good against righties so far. And look at this. Eloy Jimenez, a righty, is the first guy to come up to hit, and he gets it just barely past that second baseman. That probably should have been caught. We got a little bit lucky, but moving forward to Andrew Vaughn here, who would kind of just ground this one out a little bit, and it is going to be a double play to end off the 6th, as Dobnak would get out of that inning with no issues. We are obviously going to change pitchers here as Aaron Bummer comes in to replace Kendall Graveman. He's been much better this year. Very good against righties, just okay against lefties, but very solid overall with a 3.86 ERA, and he's going to get a man to ground. Oh, no, he's not, because Andrews... What are you doing? That's not even bad defense. That's just an error because he decided to do a jump throw for absolutely no reason. But Bummer, not shaken by it whatsoever, gets Nick Gordon to strike out with the high pitch there. And he would get Michael A. Taylor as well with a slider, just catching the corner of the zone. What a great job by Aaron Bummer. Moving forward to the top of the 8th, he would stay in, and Carlos Correa would get a little bit lucky with that one because that was on the line of the zone clearly. And then they would also get Byron Buxton to hit it down the line. He's had a great day so far, getting that one down the line, and luckily no one advances further than second, as we would then get Christian Vasquez to ground out into a double play. Elvis Andrews not making any stupid throwing mistakes that time, and Aaron Bummer gets out of the inning cleanly. What a great day. What a great outing for him. Aaron Bummer's had a really solid season, and he continues that, as Elvin Andrews actually kind of got destroyed here. Elvis got taken out but made the throw and looked good doing it. Benintendi comes up here, and he absolutely connects with this one, the sinker in the middle of the zone, and it's only going to reach the warning track there as Dobnak keeps us from scoring another one there. Andrew Benintendi just trying to get us the lead. Luis Robert Jr. then would ground out, it looks like. He's not quite going to be able to make it. He tried, but it's just not good enough contact as Kepler gets it at first. And Eloy Jimenez comes up. That's a really good pitch to hit with the low circle change, but he's going to ground out as well. Their third baseman has no struggles getting him out, and our designated hitter can't do anything with it to end off the 8th, as Dobnak has had several really good innings. We would go in with a lefty here. Garrett Crochet has a 2 ERA right now through his 9 innings pitched this season. He has looked fantastic, the left-hander. And he's going to be up here against Jose Miranda first. Miranda, that's going to be a little bit of a close one, but it looks like Robert Jr. should get to it in the outfield, and he does. That's the first out of the 9th inning here at the top of the 9th. And Garrett Crochet looks good to start, as Donovan Solano has a 333 average, 11 RBIs on the season on 800 OPS, no homers though. Crochet comes up against him, he gets him to strike out on the slider in the corner. Terrible swing as he just went way too early on that slow pitch. Kyle Farmer then would come on to pinch hit, and he has not looked nearly as good at 200 average with a 478 OPS, but they're hoping the righty can just get a hit on our lefty pitcher, and he would not because Crochet would walk him just at the bottom of the zone. Slightly unlucky with that one, but I don't think it's the wrong call, as Nick Gordon then would get a great hit to the corner here, and Hamilton just can't quite make the catch, and that may cost us so much more than he realizes. He then gets to it, and they're going to get a triple out of that from Nick Gordon. That's not necessarily terrible defense. He was just trying to make the play, but it could be really costly if we're not able to get a run here in the bottom of the 9th. He does get the next one on the fly out, but Nick Gordon may have just won the game for Minnesota if we can't do something here in the bottom of the 9th. A great hit to the outside, and Billy Hamilton tried to make the play, but he just couldn't, and Gordon ends up getting an RBI triple out of it. Yohan Duran comes on to close for this team, and he has looked terrible with an 8.68 ERA so far this season. That is just not a good stat line at all for a closer. As Gavin Sheets comes on to pinch hit, only a 167 average for him. Again, a pinch hitter who's not having a great start to his season, and he would swing in a terrible pitch outside the zone. Terrible swing from Gavin Sheets, and he does not look any better there. And Drew Vaughn would get a good hit there on the 12-6 curve, but he's just a little bit late on the swing. It's going to go straight to the first baseman and out. Oscar Colas then would come on, trying to do something here with a 198 average. He's not had a great start to his season. Billy Hamilton starting today over him, as it looks like he may move to a bench role for a little bit. And that high fastball is enough to get him to swing as well. Duran throwing about 102 miles per hour makes it really, really hard for our guys, and they did not read his pitch as well, as the Minnesota Twins come out with a win here on Nick Gordon's 9th inning heroics. And Billy Hamilton just wasn't able to make the defensive play. Randy Dobnak gets the win. Crochet gets the loss, unfortunately. And Yohan Duran has his 10th save of the season, as we lose 5-4 and will lose the series 2-1. Byron Buxton, 100% was their player of the game. He was 3 for 4 with a double and RBI. He looked fantastic. Again, Dobnak gets the win. And Nick Gordon also had a solid game, 2 for 5 with a triple, a double, an RBI, and a run. Joey Gallo was 1 for 3, had that solo homer, which is very important. And Jose Miranda also had an important hit in there. Andrew Vaughn had a very important hit for us, getting 3 RBIs on that home run of his. But Eloy Jimenez's double, Tim Anderson and his walk and his hit, and Luis Robert just weren't enough to get the job done. The boys looked solid at bat today, but not as good as they could have been. Getting a look at the pitching here for us on the day, Lance Lynn could have been worse, could have been better in his 5 innings pitched. He had allowed 4 hits and 3 runs with that last inning he pitched in the 6th at the very beginning of it, just allowing several runs, and it just wasn't very good to end things off, but he looked solid through the first few innings. Kendall Graveman then would come on. He was awful. The dude had 1 inning, allowed 2 hits, and a run. I don't know, man. They just looked so confident against him, and he almost has an 8 ERA right now. He looks terrible. Aaron Bummer, luckily for us, continued a fantastic season with a 2.7 ERA, only allowing 1 hit and 3 strikeouts on his day. Crochet didn't look bad, but he did allow the all-important hit to Nick Gordon that would allow them to win the game in the 9th inning. As we end off this game and we get moving, it looks like we've got an injury to one of our AA players, and it's Christian Mina, a player that we think has a lot of potential, and I am so disappointed to see him go down with a decently long injury here, as it looks like he will miss 2 to 3 months with a shoulder tear, which is terrible for a young pitcher. He'll go on the 60-day injured list, and we'll move somebody in to replace him in that rotation, but that's unfortunate. As we move to look at our pitchers here, we've got several guys near the 4 and 5 ERA area, just not looking very good overall. Even Garrett Crochet, after simming a few weeks, just looks terrible. Graveman's gotten down a little bit. He's no longer near an 8 ERA. Again, this is after simming a few weeks, but things just do not look good for us pitching-wise. Keenan Middleton's even pitched a third of an inning, and he looked less than good with a 27 ERA, but that's 1/3 of an inning. I guess you can't really hold him to too much of a standard with that, but that's pretty much what I was afraid of with him, as our guys just are not looking solid. And I'm going to be honest, I think defense and our bullpen are the 2 things really holding us back. As you can see here, we had a terrible month of April, and then that last game we saw was the 5-4 loss there on Thursday the 4th here in May, and May has not gone any better for us so far as we sim forward a few weeks here, and we have lost a lot of games since then. We've only won 3 in the last 2 weeks, in the last 3 weeks even, as our guys just look devoid of confidence at a 15-27 record. Things just are not looking good for us. And so I wanted to go ahead and make a change. I'm thinking it's time to make the first trade of our series if we look at a trade block, and I find Yency Almonte, a very decent looking pitcher who has a solid history, played 33 games last year, 35.1 innings pitched, and he looked really solid with a 1.02 ERA. There's a lot of promise there. He's been inconsistent overall throughout his career, having a year where he'll have a really solid ERA, and then years where he'll have a terrible ERA. And that's unfortunate, but this year he's not started great with a 5.19 ERA and 8.2 innings pitched, but that's not a lot of innings pitched. He's only played in 7 games so far this season for the Dodgers, as they just don't seem to trust him, and he's on the trade block right now, which makes me think that their coach just doesn't have a lot of faith in him. But you look at his stats, his hits per 9, his walks per 9, and his control are some of his highest stats, and I think those are the 3 most important stats for pitchers. And I think just looking at his past, where he's had some really decent seasons, and he's got a little bit of team control left, this is definitely a deal we can make easily happen. I looked through the Dodgers bullpen and pitching, and they're just overloaded with lots of talent, with guys like Blake Trinan as an extra closer, and just several guys in the bullpen far better than ours, and a lot of starters that are decent as well could probably move over. So they clearly just don't see any need to have Yency Almonte and are looking to move him on. And the only thing they're really interested in is outfield depth, it looks like. And I looked through their outfield depth, and things definitely didn't look great per se. Mookie Betts and Trace Thompson are obviously fantastic with their fielding ability, but James Outman has been really inconsistent to start his career. He's been great in real life, but less good in this series in the game. JD Martinez and Chris Taylor, I think, are both past their best. JD Martinez 35 and Chris Taylor at 32. Neither of them are very defensively solid either. Outman, like I said, has been inconsistent to start his career, batting 175, which is really bad, and I think they might just want to send him down a little bit as they just look for a little bit of outfield depth. Mookie Betts and Trace Thompson look really solid, but again, I think they could use somebody like Jake Marisnick in the last year of his deal to come in. He's got not very good hitting stats, but he's a guy that could come in. He could pinch run for you with all of his speed. He does have a very solid amount of speed and base running aggression. He's a very good fielder with a very good arm. He's had decent enough seasons in the past, batting in the low 200s area. He's never going to be super consistent at that, but at 32, he doesn't have a lot of great time left in the league anyway. I'm not saying this is the fairest trade in the world, but it looks like they're really down on Yency Almonte, And we're not going to use Marisnik much at all, who's had a very solid enough season in AAA. He's not batting well, but defensively he's not made any errors whatsoever, and I think that's what the Dodgers are looking for, is they look for outfield depth with some of their younger guys and older guys being inconsistent. So we'll get Yency Almonte here. First trade of the series. He was not believed in by the Dodgers. He's got a couple years of team control, though, and we need somebody in the bullpen. So he's going to fit in right there in our middle relief area, as Kendall Graveman will move to that second closer spot. Sorry, that second setup spot, and we will get Keenan Middleton back to AAA. Moving on to some of our scouting now, I want to get a look at some of the prospects that we've scouted a little bit, and a few that I'm going to look to scout in the next few weeks. All of these guys are going to be pitchers for now, as I've really looked heavily at starting pitching and relief pitching, and we'll look at some position players, skill players in a few weeks. But Steven Espinoza is a starter who looks pretty solid, pretty well-rounded in his per-9 stats and attributes, and his pitch control looks like he could be really good, along with decent velocity and break as well. It looks like his break's actually going to be really nasty. He looks to be about the 19th ranked pitcher in the MLB rankings, but about 8th on our board, so our scouts are really up on him so far. We've got to be careful with bonus demand, as he wants about $3 million, and we only have about $8 million to play with overall in bonuses. Moving on to Lee Ma, who has an even higher bonus demand. He looks a little bit more well-rounded, has crazy velocity, but his control and break aren't going to be as exciting. And he's a guy that I'm not sure that I'm super high on as of right now, but we've scouted him a little bit just to see what he's all about. Only 18 years old, and we might finish scouting him a little bit later on. He at least has okay per 9 attribute potential, though it's not going to be very high to start, and possibly a more realistic option as we have the 15th pick, and there's no telling if Espinoza would drop that far. Ramon Calderon is next, and he is also a realistic option for our first round pick, as he is a little bit further down the board on both our draft rankings and the MLB draft rankings. But at 21 years old, we have a better idea of where he's going to be at, and it looks like he could be a mid-60s level starting pitcher with very good potential. It looks like he could be at least a high B if you average that out. Another lefty, and a guy who's got a little bit more to like in terms of his per 9 attributes. So again, it's going to start pretty low, but he's got good potential. His walks per 9 is very worrying, and that's one thing that I would definitely have to really think about before just going for him. But his pitch velocity is very good. He's going to throw hard, and he's definitely a guy that I might be interested in, if not just for his potential. Clifford Noble is another guy. He's a little bit better in the per 9 attributes. Pitch velocity looks pretty solid as well, but again, his pitch control is not great. And there's just a lot of guys I've noticed in this draft that seem to not have a lot of control and command over their throws, but he's a guy that might fall all the way to the second round, and so we could possibly get him there. And moving on to a couple of relievers that I've scouted for the later rounds, because we've got to have guys to pick in like the 3rd through 5th rounds. Patrick McMahon is 22 years old. He looks like he will have very, very good potential, at almost obviously an A potential, another lefty, a reliever, and I actually really like the breakout of his stats. He throws incredible velocity. His walks per 9 is worrying, but he doesn't allow many hits, and hopefully his strikeouts could improve to match that velocity. His control actually doesn't look bad for somebody who throws so hard as well. So I think he's a guy that, even though he'll be low to mid-50s to start off, he has a lot of potential and could be a very good reliever. James Huff is another reliever we've scouted completely. He actually has very good per 9 attributes, and he looks like a guy that's just really well-rounded at pretty much everything as a reliever. He's not going to have a ton of potential, but he's going to start a little bit higher, having a 64 to 74 to start off and a 71 to 81 potential. So he could actually be close to his top potential when he comes through immediately, but that could be a good thing. At 21 years old, maybe this lefty could actually hop into our rotations. He is 67th on our draft board and 82nd in the MLB. It looks like our scouts agree this is a guy that could help us early on, hopefully, and I would definitely be interested in having him. That's all we're going to look at for today, guys. I've got more guys I'm scouting, more guys I'm going to look at. We'll look at position players as well, because there's definitely some positional needs and guys that we'll need to look at for that in the future. But we're doing a lot of scouting as we move towards the draft. We're about halfway there, as it is in 53 days now, as we are in mid-May. Next time out, we will be starting off with Lucas Giolito up against Tristan McKenzie in the Cleveland Guardians. McKenzie has been injured for most of the year after his first start was a 9-inning shutout. But I'll be really excited to see our new guy, Yency Almonte, hopefully get a little bit of playing time, but hopefully after Lucas Giolito has a good start, because I don't want to have to throw him in after a terrible start. He's got a 4.18 ERA right now. He's not had an incredible start to the season, but it's not been bad either. And hopefully our team, with some of the coaching changes and other changes that we're making, will just look to improve and build their way into the seasons. Maybe we can make a late playoff run, or maybe we'll just have to give up on this season and trade some guys away. I also want to apologize for how delayed I've been between videos. It's just really hard working full-time. I've had a very busy schedule, But I'm trying to find ways to format and edit the videos more quickly so I can get more content out to you guys. But if you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, as hopefully we start winning a few more games here soon and getting some of these guys to figure their crap out. Thank you again for joining us. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.